Hey guys, continuing in part my 2 month late January update, so it's almost like a first quarter update. Starting in February, I signed up. Was it February? Yeah, definitely February. Um, my wife, she was working at a bookstore, and she came over with like, "Hey, somebody dropped this flyer in my store, which I don't really have a problem with, but I thought you would really be interested in it." And it was somebody saying like, here's a QR code, take a little, fill out a little form. I'm running a short Fate adventure, like probably 3 to 5 sessions. New players welcome, etc., etc. So I signed up for that, and I told my friend about it, the gal who world mastered with me. She was immediately interested in GMing. By the way, I think I might have mentioned that in a previous video. So she really took to role playing as a hobby right away. And looking at my systems and the descriptions that I had given, she actually went after Fate Core and decided that she would run that. And she's currently, I don't know how actively, running a Fate game for two college friends of hers that are in another town. So I don't know really how often they do it. It's the first time she's GM'd. They've never roleplayed before at all. It's all kind of awkward. That's just background for her experience level. But anyways, I told her about it, and she definitely signed up, and that got us 3 players. So it did start. We are on our 6th session coming this week, probably be the end of the adventure. We have clearly taken longer to play than the playtests he's done before. He's only done playtests through post on forum and ran it physically face to face with his family. He's a young guy. The GM is a young guy with only D&D and Fate experience. His father brought it in, and apparently it's a whole family hobby, which is cool. And so we're running this Fate thing in some universe that he's created. Pre-gen characters that we got to pick from. So this is my first real experience with Fate. The other player has played Fate before, but not recently. His memory was really kind of flimsy on Fate. Might have even been a previous edition rather than Fate Core. And I've already given you my friend Elle. Let's just start calling her Elle. Her experience. So a lot of very little to none experience with Fate as the player group. He's clearly into Fate predominantly. He described his choice as Fate is so much more with a narrative focus than D&D, which mechanically speaking, that's true. Tonal speaking, I think you can say that that's true. D&D being the grandfather of all RPGs, a lot of people have house ruled or just adapted tone and whatnot into D&D rather than learning new systems. I've stated my opinion on that before in an RPG of the day. Somewhere, go look at my RPG a day answers and have fun with that and leave me rude comments. It's all good. I have a lot of hot takes, and the tower, the big mountain that D&D is I consider that to actually be an issue rather than a blessing. Anyways, I can't say I've been having fun with it, but I can't say that it's not because of the way this guy is GMing. Now, like I said, maybe I didn't say, he's young. He's clearly inexperienced. He has a lot of things to learn. This is not a teardown. I'm just saying he's young, he's inexperienced. He's treating the narrativeness of Fate more like story writing. More like story writing. My friend Elle, she's good with, describing in color what her PC is doing. The other guy, P, is he's clearly comfortable with getting into character, speaking in character, but he's not as descriptive with what he does. Me, I want to lean into that because I know that that's part of the system, but I do struggle. I've spent 20 plus years in describing my PC's actions as third party from a third person perspective for the most part. And this GM, he's new, and he is not experienced. Like, if I was running a game with a different kind of tone or player involvement at a convention or some other kind of, new players are welcome. I would already know that I may have to encourage people to do things, and that leading and that encouragement and that making it a safe environment, all of those kind of concepts would be part of what I do. I think in a way he's just running a game because he wants to run a game. He's not thinking about this as cultivating the Fate part of the hobby or the hobby as a whole, or what other players experience. He's just doing his own thing, which, I mean, you can be solo, but come on, guys, it's just a social thing. Hot take. And I really only think he stepped over the bounds at one point. Like, Elle was describing what she did. He paused her to clarify what's actually going on, or a rule or something like that. I don't remember. And then she's like 2 or 3 words into like, oh, okay, so if that's what it is, then this is how I'm describing things. And he starts talking over her. Like, you don't do that. She was doing all that just fine. Like, that is his biggest faux pas. I think his next biggest faux pas, unfortunately, is that he, in his idea that it's narrative, he has diarrhea of the mouth like Stephen King. I love horror. Stephen King's awful. I look at every single one of those books and I'm like, that book needs to be like 2/3 of its size. If you're going to take 2 pages describing a valley that the people just walked through and then it's completely irrelevant, that was stuff that could have been cut. Like, he needs more editors, or stronger backed editors. And that's what it is. Like, every sentence he gives us describing something has like no less than 2 adjectives, no less than 2 adverbs. He's describing how the grass is, and the trees, and the sky, and what we hear, and he's right. He's right. He has learned, one of the GM improvements that he has learned is that you don't only use sight to describe. He's absolutely right. You don't need to run through at least 3 sentences with every single scene in every single way, painting everything. Good Lord, it's not a book. And even if it was a book, I'd be putting it down. Like, this is taking way too long. And so that's like the narrative part. I think he thinks is that he gets to write that much instead of, no, like, you look at Fate Core and it's competent and some proactive and something else are the kinds of characters and stories. The competent part is that you don't bother testing things. You just describe what you're doing and it's like, good to go. So he's not running, and he said, I asked him about it, he has like 4 pages of house rules for Fate. And he's not running the game with all those house rules because he find it would be too much off of Fate. Also, good idea. Reduce your house rules when running any system in any public setting. So it's not, so here's the thing. So it's not, I'm not having fun, but like I said, I'm not necessarily chalking that up to Fate. Like, this has given me a small taste, but not enough of a taste. I need to experience it a bit more raw. Here's another thing that he's done that, again, I'm not ragging on him. The dude is young. I think the amount of descriptiveness that and story writing that he's doing is probably within the range of what Fate exists in. It's definitely towards the I'm no longer role-playing, I'm storytelling now edge. But I think it's within the realm. It's definitely given me a non-raw experience, though. But one of the other things, and I think this is important, is a lot of our aspects he puts in the scene or for NPCs aren't necessarily things that can be used for or against, right? Our high concept is a very for. Our trouble is clearly a negative, but our give you a description, an example. So I'm playing some fake characters, a Fae character, right? And he allowed me to make up all the stuff about what kind of Fae I am, blah blah blah, talking animal, pixie, whatever. None of that was relevant physically in the game. So, like my high concept is Fae servant to a slumbering master Fae or something like that. My trouble is Fae cannot lie. But my third aspect was it was this little rhymey thing which he thinks works for like Western European Fae kind of style, is like thrice this, thrice that, thrice this. Like there's, triple part comma thing, right? If that makes any sense. But basically it's about like, look, if I get you to promise something 3 times, any promise that's said 3 times is cosmically binding. Whatever that really means in his system, I don't know. Or in his, the way he's going to GM. How is that something that can be used for me or against me as an aspect? Like, obviously, if you get me to promise something 3 times, then, it's almost like a compel, Or obviously, if I get someone else to promise something, which I did in the last session, then that comes with power. But that doesn't feel like an aspect that has, for one thing, it has. I'm not sure it has anything to do with the little bit of backstory I saw. So I do have backstory that interacts with another character, just like the character creation process that's in Fate Core. But now, this could totally be me. How maybe I'm lacking the ability to see how this can and cannot be used. It could totally be me. But it doesn't, like, if I look at the examples in Fate Core, it just doesn't line up. And the stuff that I see, oh, this is an oily floor. Okay, yeah, okay, it's an oily floor. I guess that's an aspect that we could use against them or they could use against us. And, for the tactical fight stuff, that's fine. But, like, the stuff that the NPCs put down, it's like, here's our high concept. I'm not even sure if there's a trouble. And there's nothing else. And you just look at that stuff and like, how exactly am I supposed to? Again, maybe this is just me coming from a very mechanical background and not understanding and seeing the options out there. If you can think of things of how my say this thing 3 times, promise it 3 times, and it comes cosmically binding. If you can tell me like better, like not like ways to use this for or against me, like I use it. I forget what the word is. I invoke it, or I get compelled against it. Other than the simple fact that, right? Because you have to get someone to say it 3 times in the first place in order for that to matter. So, I don't understand. Help me with my understanding. If this is actually a pretty decent Fate aspect, please help me in my understanding. I would really like to learn it because I want to learn Fate better. Yeah. See ya.